My Hebrew brothers and sisters, welcome back. This is your Moreh Yeshua ben Uriah Israel. And we just want to thank you. We just want to thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your likes and your comments. And also thank you most of all for your prayers. We're grateful for your prayers and we appreciate it so much. So every time you pray, just remember, please, remember your Moreh Yeshua ben Uriah Israel. If you can't remember that long name, the slave name is Joshua Smith. Remember that. Our brother Josh. Okay? So we just want to thank you. We want to thank you. We want to thank you so much for your subscriptions. And we ask that you will continue to talk to your friends and your loved ones and just share this channel with them and ask them to like and also to subscribe. So we thank you. Today I want to talk to you briefly on a subject of the fulfillment in regards to Yahshua coming to the earth. There's a passage that I want that I'm looking at, and I want to read a verse for you out of that passage, out of the context. Okay? I'm not just taking the text out of the context. If you understand the meaning, I'm just wanting to share that with you because I could have shared a little more than that verse. But we have just 15 minutes and we want to use it as discreetly as we can. In Luke chapter 24, verse 24, listen what it says. Yeshua speaking, and he said, "These are the words which I spoke unto you while I was with you." Let me read it, start again. It said, "These are the words which I spoke unto you while I was with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning me." So what was written in the Torah? What was written in the prophets, the prophetical writings, and what was written in the Psalm concerning Yeshua's coming to fulfill the requirements that Yahuwah had put upon us that we could not manage. Okay? And so I wanted to notice something about this verse that I've just read. Let me read it again. "These are the words which I spoke unto you while I was with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning me." Now, the verse that I've just read, no part of this scripture that I've just read to you say that the death of Yeshua and his resurrection were meant to be a new religion. No part of it was meant to be a new religion. Now, but everything that we read here was about the fulfillment of a covenant or promises that, and if you want to put in parentheses, promises of statutory requirements, that because of the fact that we had problem, our ancestors had problem keeping the Torah. Okay? And because of that, Yahuwah, he loved us so much. Remember that we have messed up in so many different ways. And he could have just thrown us away. But remember that he called us out of all the people of the world, of all the races of people, of all the nations of people. He called us through our great-grandfather Abraham. So no part of the scripture that we just read is said that Yahshua's death and his resurrection was meant to start a new religion. And this is what it seemed, a matter of fact, I was a part of that new religion, the church, that they claim that this is something new, the New Testament church. Well, what's the difference between the New Testament church and the Old Testament church? Because in the Old Testament, we were called as a congregation of people. We were specially called, we were chosen. Our ancestors, the Hebrew Israelite people, were a chosen, called out people. That's what the church is all about in the Old Testament, or in the Tanakh, or in the Torah. A congregation of people that he called by his name for his own pleasure. So no part of what I've just read in the scriptures said that Yahshua's death and resurrection was made, to start a new religion. Nowhere he said that. Nowhere he said that. Okay? So we just want us to understand. Okay? We want us to understand that. All right. I want us to notice something as we read on. Okay? So we said that then it was a fulfillment. Listen what he said. It was a fulfillment. It was a statutory fulfillment. Yeshua wanted us to be his people, as he had promised. And he chose a way for us to come back to him. Okay? All right. So Yahuwah made this promise with his chosen called out people. And said most of the Old Testament, no, I shouldn't say that, but most of the Old Testament, you're going to see where the promise was made, that Yahuwah, he made his covenant with his people. And he started his covenant with Abraham. Then he went on through Isaac. Then he went on through a great-grandfather also, through Jacob, and, and so on. So these were the patriarchs of the scripture, okay, that Yahuwah promised, okay? So most of the so-called church fathers and the Bible translators lose the relationship on which the Hebrew Israelites and Yahuwah are linked. They miss that. I mean, they miss it, totally miss it. Because in the writing, if they had not missed it, you would not be hearing, oh, the Jews this and the Jews that, and the Jews was in Egypt. Can you imagine? Jewish religion didn't even start until the children of Israel went into captivity and they were in Babylon. The southern tribes. Can you imagine? They miss it. By miles. They were inaccurate. And so they don't want the Hebrew Israelite people to be the people of Yah. So they fix it in a way that would confuse people. So they lose the relationship on which the Hebrew Israelites and Yahuwah are linked. The Bible translators fail to recognize the connection to the Hebrew people, to the natures or the inherent features or the characters or the qualities. Don't let me preach to you, no, my brothers and my sisters. But they miss that. 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 Okay? And so I want us to notice here, my brothers and my sisters, that these translators, they fail. You know what? Most of the Bible translators did not know Hebrew. They did not know the Hebrew. And they failed to even get somebody among the Hebrew Israelite people who know Hebrew to give them a lecture. Because most of these translators, what they learn about Hebrew is what they learn in seminary. What they learn about Hebrew is what they learn in seminary. If you notice that they translate the Bible into Greek, that was most their language. Greek. The Latin Vulgate. That's what the Gentile people. They're the one that translated the scripture. So they translate the scripture to match their system of religion. So they failed to recognize the connection to the Hebrew Israelite people the natures or the inherent features, the character, the qualities that is mentioned in the scripture. Consequently, my brothers and my sisters, consequently, listen to this, consequently, the scripture that were meant to, the scripture that were written, the scripture that were written to Hebrews, or to the Hebrew Israelites, the scripture that were written for the Hebrew Israelites, the scripture that were written about Hebrew Israelites, lost their qualities. Law is they lose their actual Hebrew Israelite inherent nature. They lost it by a long shot. They lost the intrinsic nature or the essence to which belong to the Hebrew people, their relationship with Yahuwah. The critical elements should be realistic, my brothers and my sisters. The critical element should be realistic and should reflect the original chosen and called out people, the Hebrew Israelite people. But my brothers and my sisters, that did not happen. That did not happen. You remember a few sessions back, I read to you the scripture that said, Yeshua came, but not unto the lost house of Israel. The lost house of Israel. That's what he came to. And you can tell, even sometimes you listen to the news, and the present day news that you're listening to. Now, let me say this, and I don't want to get mixed up with what's going on with the Gentile people fighting and killing one another. But let me say this, we should be concerned. Because, you know what? Over there in Ukraine, we have Hebrew Israelite people. But with all of the problem and all of the announcement, and I haven't seen one of those Hebrew Israelite people come forth. Like the news media do not focus on them. You see, because to them they are nonsense, they're nothing. They do not focus on them. They focus on the Gentiles, and those Gentiles who came over to call themselves Judaism, Jews. Those are the ones they focus on, okay? Especially the leader of Ukraine, they focus on him, and I pray for him that, he be wise and do the right thing, okay? But the other one they focus on, they don't focus on us. They don't focus on our ancestors. Everything is written. Praise Yahuwah for internet and for the modern day press that call out and show, and we get an understanding. Praise Yahuwah for internet. Praise Yahuwah for the cell phones, because that give us an opportunity to go and search and research and find out that some of the lies that were told to us, were just downright lies. and put us into a category of dogs and sorcerers. And the Gentiles are the ones who are in that category. We got to stop here, my brothers and my sisters. I did not mean to wind up, but I'm just excited about what's going on and what Yahuwah said about his people and about his word. So this is your Moreh Yahshua ben Uriah Israel. And I ask you to continue to subscribe and to like and to pray for me. And we ask that you'll be a blessing today and walk with the King. Shalom.